When a woman first meets a narcissistic husband, the relationship often feels like a fairy tale. He may seem charming, attentive, and deeply invested in making you feel special. He studies you closely, your likes, your dreams, your insecurities, and then mirrors back exactly what you want to see. In those early days, it feels intoxicating. You believe you found someone who finally understands you, someone who makes you feel valued in ways you've never felt before. But here's the painful truth. That version of him was never fully real. It was a performance, a carefully crafted act designed to win your trust and devotion. What you thought was love was, in reality, an illusion built on manipulation. Slowly, once he feels secure that you're invested, the mask begins to slip. The compliments turn into criticisms. The admiration shifts into demands. What once felt like deep connection starts to feel like control. You begin to notice inconsistencies, moments where his words don't align with his actions. He may tell you that you're the most important person in his life, but his behavior says something entirely different. And here's where it becomes dangerous, because you tasted the sweetness of that initial love bombing. You keep chasing it. You hold on to the hope that if you just love him harder, if you're more patient, if you change something about yourself, the man you first met will return. But that man was never truly there. He was only a mask. This illusion of love is one of the most devastating traps of living with a narcissistic husband. It makes you question your own judgment. Was I foolish? Did I imagine everything? How could something that felt so real turn into something so painful? Wives need to know this. Being deceived by that illusion does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. It means you were open-hearted enough to believe in love. The response is, ability for the deception lies not with you, but with him. The beginning of freedom comes when you can name the illusion for what it is. When you stop chasing the ghost of the man you first met, you can begin reclaiming your power, your clarity, and your voice. Real love is not a performance, and it does not vanish when the show ends. Real love grows roots. It doesn't evaporate. Living with a narcissistic husband rarely begins with loud explosions of cruelty. It begins quietly in whispers and shadows. At first, it may be something so small you almost dismiss it. A joke made at your expense, a look that cuts deeper than words, a conversation where your feelings are brushed aside. He may even frame it as just teasing, or insist you're too sensitive. And because you love him, you let it slide. You forgive, you excuse, you tell yourself it isn't worth making a big deal out of. But here is the truth. Those little moments add up. What seems insignificant in isolation becomes destructive in accumulation. Over time, the criticism becomes constant, the dismissals more blatant, the invalidation more routine. And little by little, something inside you begins to shift. You start to question yourself. You doubt your own instincts. You find yourself replaying conversations in your mind, wondering if you really did overreact, if you really are too emotional, if maybe the problem is you. That's how the erosion works, not all at once, but piece by piece. This erosion of self is not just about hurt feelings, it's about identity. Slowly, you forget the sound of your own voice. You stop doing the things that once brought you joy because you fear his judgment. You silence your opinions before you even speak them because you've learned they'll be dismissed anyway. The woman who once had passions, dreams, and laughter begins to fade into the background. You become smaller, quieter, less yourself. What makes this erosion especially dangerous is how invisible it feels while it's happening. Outsiders may not see it. Friends might not notice. From the outside, your life may. One of the most damaging tools a narcissistic husband uses is gaslighting. It doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens gradually in small, calculated ways that make you question your own reality. He may say things like, that never happened, or you're imagining things, or you're too sensitive. And at first you push back. You remember clearly what was said, you know what you felt, you're certain of what you saw. But when the denial keeps coming, when every conversation ends with you doubting yourself, something shifts inside of you. Gaslighting works because it attacks your most basic human anchor, your trust in your own mind. When someone repeatedly tells you that what you experienced isn't real, you begin to wonder, am I losing my memory? Am I overreacting? Is there something wrong with me? Slowly, the confidence you once had in your own judgment starts to erode. And that's exactly the point, because once you stop trusting yourself, you start relying on him to define reality for you. Think about the power in that. If he can make you question your own perception, he can control the story. He can rewrite what happened. He can turn himself into the hero and you into the villain. He can hurt you and then convince you it was your fault. That is not love. It's manipulation at its deepest level. Gaslighting is not a misunderstanding. It's not a difference of opinion. It is intentional confusion designed to destabilize you. And the longer it goes on, the more isolated you feel. You stop sharing your truth with others because you're no longer sure what the truth even is. You begin to silence yourself, not just around him, but everywhere, because doubt has taken root in your heart. Wives need to know this. If you constantly feel like you're walking in circles inside your own mind, if you replay conversations endlessly trying to figure out what went wrong, you are not crazy. You are being gaslighted. Your memory is real. Your feelings are real. Your lived experience is valid. The way out begins with reclaiming your voice, writing things down, talking to people you trust, holding on to evidence of what actually happened, even if he tries to erase it. Because the more you anchor yourself in truth, the harder it becomes for him to rewrite your story. Gaslighting is a weapon, yes. But truth is armor. And when you begin to believe your own reality again, you take back the power he worked so hard to steal. One of the hardest patterns to see clearly when you're living with a narcissistic husband is the cycle he creates, the constant swing between being lifted up and then torn down. This is not random, and it is not about love gone sour. It is a deliberate rhythm designed to keep you hooked. In the beginning, you're idealized. He puts you on a pedestal, treating you like you are extraordinary, irreplaceable, the very center of his universe. During this phase, you feel alive, cherished, and chosen. He showers you with compliments, affection, and attention. This is the same energy you experienced during the early honeymoon stage, and it feels intoxicating. You think, this is the man I married. This is what our love is meant to be. But then, without warning, the devaluation begins. Suddenly, the warmth is replaced by coldness. The admiration turns into criticism. He nitpicks everything you do, compares you to others, or acts as though you are a burden. You're left bewildered, wondering what you did wrong. You scramble to fix it, to make things good again. And here's the hook. Just when you're at your breaking point, he swings back to idealization. He apologizes, showers you with affection, or gives you a glimpse of the man you first fell in love with. That glimpse is powerful. It convinces you to stay, to hope, to believe that maybe the love you long for is still there. This cycle is not love, it's control. By alternating between idealization and devaluation, he keeps you emotionally off balance. You never feel secure. One of the most confusing parts of living with a narcissistic husband is the way he disguises control as care. On the surface, it may sound like love. He says things like, I just want what's best for you, or I'm only trying to protect you. And at first it feels reassuring. Who doesn't want a partner who looks out for them? But slowly you realize that what he calls protection isn't about safety or love at all. It's about control. It often starts in small, subtle ways. Maybe he questions your spending, and are you sure you should buy that? I don't think it's a good idea. Or he comments on your friendships. I don't like the way she influences you. Maybe you shouldn't spend time with her. Then it extends further, monitoring your phone, dictating what you wear, questioning where you go and who you see. Each time he frames it as concern. Each time he makes it sound like he's being thoughtful or responsible. But here's the truth. Genuine care empowers, it doesn't imprison. Real love encourages you to be more yourself, not less. When someone constantly limits your freedom under the banner of love, that is not care, it's control. This control can become financial too. Many narcissistic husbands restrict access to money, deciding how and when it can be spent. They may insist on handling all finances, not as a partnership, but as a way to keep you dependent. And dependency is power, because if he holds the money, he holds the keys to your choices. Even worse, he may manipulate your choices in the name of protecting your reputation or your family. He may say things like, "I don't want people to think badly of you," or "I know what's best for us." And because he says it with conviction, you begin to question your own judgment. You wonder if maybe he's right, maybe you really can't make good decisions on your own. Wives need to know this. Love does not strip away our independence. Love does not shrink your circle, silence your voice, or bind your choices. Love does not demand obedience disguised as concern. What you are experiencing is not protection, it is possession. The dangerous part is how normal it begins to feel. Because he cloaks control in care, you may start to accept it as the way relationships are supposed to work. But deep down, you feel smaller, you feel trapped, you feel silenced. And if love makes you less free, it is not love. The beginning of reclaiming your power is naming the difference. Ask yourself, does his care empower me or does it cage me? Does his concern make me feel safe or does it make me feel small? The answers may be painful, but they are the truth, and the truth is what sets you free. Living with a narcissistic husband is one of the loneliest experiences a woman can endure. From the outside, it may look like you have everything, a partner, a family, maybe even the picture-perfect life others envy. But inside the walls of your marriage, the silence is deafening. You are partnered, but you feel profoundly alone. This loneliness doesn't come from physical absence. He might be in the same room, sitting across the dinner table, or lying beside you in bed. But his emotional absence is constant. He does not truly listen. He does not truly see you. He does not truly meet you where you are. And over time, you begin to feel invisible in your own life. What makes this loneliness so painful is the contradiction of it. You have someone to call your husband, yet you cannot lean on him for comfort. You have someone who claims to love you, yet he cannot hold space for your pain. You have a partner, yet you carry the weight of the relationship entirely on your own shoulders. The narcissistic husband often isolates his wife further, cutting her off from friends or family under the guise of love or protection. He might discourage you from sharing personal struggles with others. Don't air our dirty laundry, or no one else understands us like I do. Slowly, your circle shrinks. You stop. One of the hardest truths to face when living with a narcissistic husband is that he does not respect boundaries. In fact, he sees them as challenges, lines to cross, walls to climb, rules to bend until they break. And because he is relentless, you may find yourself exhausted, giving in just to avoid the fight. Over time, it starts to feel easier to surrender than to stand your ground. But here's the problem. Every time you abandon a boundary to keep the peace, you lose a piece of yourself, a piece of your dignity, a piece of your voice, until one day you look around and realize that almost nothing in your life belongs to you anymore. Not your choices, not your time, not even your sense of self. Boundaries are not punishments. They are not walls meant to shut people out. They are acts of self-respect. They are the sacred lines that say, this is where I end and you begin. Boundaries protect your mental health, your emotional energy, and your very identity. Without them, you are left vulnerable to manipulation, control, and constant emotional harm. A narcissistic husband will push against boundaries with everything he has. If you say no, he will argue. If you enforce a limit, he will guilt you. If you stand firm, he may try to punish you with silence, anger, or withdrawal of affection. And yet, the more he pushes, the more important it becomes for you to hold steady. Here's the truth wives need to know. Boundaries are not about changing him. They are about protecting you. You cannot make him respect them, but you can choose to uphold them. You can decide what you will and will not tolerate. You can decide how you respond when he crosses the line. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Yes, it may stir conflict. But boundaries are not about comfort. They are about survival. They are about reclaiming your right to have a voice, to have choices, to have a life that belongs to you. Think of it this way. If you don't draw the line, someone else will draw it for you. And with a narcissistic husband, the line will always be drawn in his favor. So begin with small boundaries. Protect your time, protect your finances, protect your emotional space. Each boundary you set is a declaration that you are worthy of respect. Each one is an act of courage, a step back toward yourself. Because without boundaries, you will lose yourself in his world. But with them, you begin to build a world that is yours again. Boundaries are not negotiable. They are not selfish. They are survival. And the woman you are becoming, the one who dares to draw the line, is braver than she even knows. One of the most painful lessons wives of narcissistic husbands must face is this. You cannot love him into becoming the man you need him to be. You cannot pour enough compassion, patience, or sacrifice into the relationship to fix him. You cannot hold yourself small enough, quiet enough, or perfect enough to make him change. That truth is devastating because most women in this situation start from a place of hope. You saw glimpses of love, tenderness, even vulnerability in him once, and you cling to those glimpses as evidence that if you just hang on, if you just try harder, the man you fell in love with will return. But the man you're waiting for was never the whole truth. He was a mask, a performance, an illusion carefully crafted to hook your heart. Healing begins when you allow yourself to stop chasing the illusion and face the reality of what's in front of you. That doesn't mean you stop loving him overnight. That doesn't mean the hope disappears in an instant. But it does mean you begin to tell yourself the truth. He is not showing up for me. He is not willing to change. And it is not my job to rescue him at the cost of my own soul. The truth is not SI, it shatters the story you've been telling yourself. It may break your heart, but as painful as it is, the truth is also liberating. Because when you stop waiting for him to become someone he isn't, but once you allow yourself to sit with the truth, something powerful begins to happen.